and I'm talking to Patrick Quinlan, who is the National Party councillor for Mulhuddard, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. Blanchetown Mulhuddard's the local electoral area, yeah.
I think you're your only elected representative.
The only one so far. The only one so far.
Are you confident that in a general election with yourself, but also with your party in the future, you might grow more?
Realistically, yes, we would like to see rapid growth, but being totally realistic and remaining within the actual scope of what we're dealing with here, which is elections. People have to go to the ballot box, they have to vote for you, and we've a lot of sympathy on the doorsteps everywhere we go, and people like our message, to hear what we have to say, they're on board with it. It's that translating to people actually going to the ballot box and voting, which is the tricky part, and I understand that's a tricky part for any political party to actually be able to get done. With ourselves, in terms of do we want general election seats? Absolutely, we want representation inside the Dáil, and we believe that the Irish people should be represented inside the Dáil. On a local level, my nearest party colleague, Stephen Redmond, over on the Finglas side of the Dunsink urban area plan that I'm here today in Blanchetown, just communicating with locals, getting feedback on their concerns, and he's been doing Trojan work over that side, and we have multiple representatives across the country, north, south, east and west. So it's a matter of you're building, and you want to be consistent in your messaging, but overall, fundamentally, I believe a lot of people who might hear this message also believe that they have been failed totally by the political establishment in this country, and that translates to any political party, and that's what's resulting in low voter turnouts. I know we had a high voter turnout in terms of a couple of elections, and particularly referendums and stuff like that, but it's giving them that faith that we're not just politicians. I'm a working class young man. I'm 33 years of age. Never had any type of want or desire to get involved in local politics, and was very much just happy in my own lane. But when it came to a local development in the area, and people were concerned that it wasn't going to go to local people, and that's kind of how I ended up getting involved in local politics. But just to kind of summarise on the question, because it is a good question, we definitely do want more representation, and we believe that the Irish people need more representation, but in order to get ourselves, and I'm not talking about the context of a party, I'm on about the context of a people, to get ourselves proper representation in these offices of power, and we need, as a party, to consistently put back into people the belief that your elected representatives are there to represent you, and do it in such a way that is unapologetically pro-Irish.
And how are you finding, occasionally I see your videos on social media, how are you finding the other councillors and Fingal? The first kind of couple of interactions, I just, I go in, do what I do, and say hello, and just say hello, coffees, good time, nice on the weekend, just be normal, I'm not going in mad dogging them, it'd be the term, that kind of way. Just going in, just interacting, being normal. But I did have one particular instance where a councillor stood over me, and won't name names, but a councillor did stand over me and call me some very mean names, and at the time, I just said, do you think that's the way for an elected official to act? If you have a different worldview than me, if you have a different political opinion than me, do you not think it'd be more constructive to sit down and have a conversation about it, whereas there was no interest in doing stuff like that. The interest seems to be consistently shut down one side of the debate. We had the Labour councillor, name has escaped me, but we had a former mayor of Fingal, Brian, I think is his first name, and McDonough I think is his surname, and he let the mask slip about a cordon sanitaire. If they had it their way, I just wouldn't even be sitting on the council, but unfortunately we live in a representative democracy, and people vote the way they vote, and they voted me in. Okay, we just move on. We're here at Blanchetown Library, we bumped into one another. There's an information evening about the development of Dunsink. I think personally this is going to be a great development if it happens, but what do you think and know of the development, Patrick?
So just a couple of things that I've had in terms of we done a engagement ourselves, myself and my party colleague Stephen Redmond on the Finglas side of the development, and we went in Scribbestown Estate, knocked doors, petitioned,
asked people to support the motion. The motion was effectively that the Dunsink, that the Scribbestown Lane would not be opened up to construction traffic or opened up at all. Well, the motion was specific to construction traffic, but that just wouldn't be opened up at all. It's kind of like the general sense that you get off people on the ground. Purest form of public consultation you could possibly do. An elected representative going in, having a conversation with people, getting signatures on a petition, submitted that into the local area committee alongside a motion, and it was defeated by one vote. So we had 6 for, 6 against, 3 abstentions if I recall correctly, and then obviously the chair had the deciding factor on it, and the motion fell.
Why don't you want that part to be developed?
Now, this is important. It's not about what I want, it's about what the people want, and the people don't want the rural feel, because Dublin is a very, very built up area. No one's going to argue that, and there's pockets of rural Dublin around the place, like Rush, Lusk, and then even out then towards Lucan and the back roads of Blanchetown out towards Lucan. Like it's these small pockets of rural Dublin are just getting this type of treatment where, oh no, we need there's national policy framework, there's national targets, and this is all driven by population growth. That's no secret. And unfortunately then, when it comes down to the planning and the opening up and zoning of lands, it's all these little pockets of rural Dublin and rural life in Dublin that are just being simply eradicated.
And the plan is to build on it, is it?
On Dunsink itself?
Yeah, no, on that road as well you're talking about.
So at this point in time, the process is the land has been opened up, and the long-term strategic land bank has been lifted. The land has been opened up. It's an urban area plan. It's very much just at a planning stage at the moment. So what actually gets done in terms of roads being opened up, and the actual height of the development, the amount of units that get built and stuff like this. Like I've asked questions here today in terms of like what mechanisms are in place if the council fails on hitting its target of 2,500 units in phase 1, and what mechanisms are in place to hold the council and the developers accountable. And the very straight side answer I got was they're not aware of what mechanisms are in place. Yeah.
Okay, Patrick, have you learned any more here today from this information evening about Dunsink?
No, not really. Because as I said, it is just an urban area plan. It's driven by population growth. In terms of what actually ends up getting done, it will be down to the locals putting pressure on the council in terms of making their submissions and stuff like that. But I've also been reliably informed that if some submissions aren't worded in a particular way and stuff like that, they'll essentially just be shelved. But in reality, what I would like to see at Dunsink is lots and lots of green space and lots of open space. Not opposed to building houses, not 15-storey apartment complexes. Like, I've been inside these places, I've had representations, constituents contact me, made representation on their behalf. You cannot raise children in the corridors of an apartment complex. I know the line will be, there will be playgrounds there, there will be a little bit of green space, but it does not give the same authentic Irish housing estate reared that I got as a child and that a lot of people got as children, like that we probably took for granted. Being able to go knick-knacking, jumping over the neighbour's wall, kick the can, pole to wall. But that's what I would like to see, is this development being relatively low scale, not massive heights being built, two stories, 3 stories max. I will be making a submission to that effect. But also then as well, like when it comes to the actual development and the need for housing, there seems to be a carte blanche on not talking about it. Immigration and population growth go hand in hand in this country. They're not willing to actually accept this reality. And with this, we have 18,500 units proposed to be built over the course of 3 decades. If we look at population growth year on year, it's about 73,000, I think, just rough maths off the top of my head. And then you look at the actual development itself, 18,500 units. Let's say 3 people per unit. A development like Dunsink will need to be built every single year just in order to keep up with population growth that is overwhelmingly driven by non-Irish national immigration.